So, good morning, everyone. Well, that is a bit disappointing, and no answer would have been better. Thank you. So, first of all, I'm CCP Pinky, and with me here I've the master in quizzes.
Yes, I'm CCP Stroopwafel. We both work on ESI, among other things. And yeah, today we're going to have a bit of a talk about that.
Yeah. So we are both responsible for the product called ESI, internally called EVE. So needless to say, we're part of Team Difficult, because if you make a product that calls easy, then you have to be difficult about it. To introduce that a bit, I want to first explain a bit what is ESI and why is it important to us. Basically, if you ever entered an application outside of EVE Online, then you have used ESI to get the data to you. And we have it in all kinds of forms and different applications, and people are very creative with them. And if it's a scale board, scale monitoring, fittings, you call it and it exists. And there's also an Excel plugin to get all the data to you. I'll delve into that a bit later. But first, to give you a bit of impression, when we talk about ESI, what are we talking about? I have an endless amount of applications here. I just put on a few that all use ESI. So ESI is quite important to us for the healthiness of EVE Online, because a lot of things you just don't want to do in-game. Corp management, alliance management, keeping track of all your assets and stuff like that. It's very tricky. You have to do that all in-game. So we make that available to you to do that in third-party applications. But all that isn't without challenges. So for about the next 20 minutes, we will entertain you, maybe bore you a bit with the challenges that we have with that. And start off, I think it's important to note, ESI has a lot of data of different subjects. So it can be a lot of market data. People do love market data. Can I make a profit moving things from Amar to Hack, from Hack to ETA? What is the best way to do that? People do love having information about the corporations, about the kills that happened, and which corporations were involved, which alliances were involved, how much ISK was lost, how much ISK was gained by people. There's a lot of different data, in total about 200 different subjects of data that we have. ESI started small, and it has grown really large, up to the point that I myself have issues overseeing all that information that we have. So often I get the questions like, did you know that this and this part of ESI is not working? I will have to look that up because it is big. But as we are with EVE Online, if you have an EVE character, this information is freely available to you, to everyone. Everyone can work with that. We do not hold back in that sense. And what we notice, it's a very nice way of getting into programming, developing, getting your own tools up and running. And we see a lot of people that say, I had an urge, I had a thing that I wanted to fix, and for the first time in my life, I built an application, I made a website, I talked to ESI, got it out of there, or I made an Excel sheet that did this. And we think that's awesome. And we really want to help, and we've been helping that with a lot to foster that, to make that bigger. Because in the end of the day, we can be creative at CCP, but with all the players that we have, we can be a lot more creative altogether. So we like that. So to delve a bit more into how much data are we talking about? Well, at the moment we have about 2,000 different applications that are active. So I'm not talking about the thousands of applications that are no longer active or maintained, actually active applications. To us that's amazing, because it means 2,000 people, developers, are maintaining applications. It's awesome. But you guys also really like using it, because we recorded 600,000 active characters in the last month. That's not a small number. It means that most likely all of you are signed up to some website somewhere to get some information out of your character. More than that, we handle about I have to say this correctly in English, 1 billion requests per day. So 1 billion times someone asks something to ESI and we give an answer to that. That is a lot of back and forth for that. That's about 1.5 terabytes of data. So what's 1.5 terabytes of data per day? Well, if you buy a new computer, it most likely has a 1 or 2 terabyte hard drive in there. So imagine that this is buying a new computer every day to put the data on there. It is a lot of data. We record peaks of about 80,000 requests per second. So it also means it is large also per second. It means that we have to scale up for very large volumes, which comes with very complicated technical problems, but we try to tackle them. And for us, one of the, I can say, worst parts is that only 50% of those requests we can serve from memory. And what does that mean? That 50% of the things we are being asked, we also have to ask the game. And that has an impact on the game. And let me just show you in a graph a bit what I mean with a lot of traffic going on. This is from my internal metric dashboard. And what you see here in the top line is the amount of requests per second that we handle. For an average website, just a normal everyday website, you always see a day-night pattern. Because either you're EU targeted or US targeted, and you see this very clear spike during the active hours. But when we look at our data, that is a bit much more flat. We do see in the EU a bit of a thing, but you see those two other bumps. And you're like, what is that about? Well, that is you guys fighting. Because when fights happens, people ask ESI, what happened, who was involved, and that happens at a shitty high rate. So we can just see by the sheer panic that ESI has if there was a big fight again. It's a very nice early bird telling something is wrong. So if you can imagine, if you have a site that is doing this much data this fast, it becomes really difficult to replace any part of it. And very often we feel that we are racing over the freeway with 200 kilometers per hour and someone asks, please change the tires. How am I supposed to do that? So the last few months we worked hard to make that as smooth as we can. And these days what we do is we just start up a second version of ESI, we redirect traffic from the old to the new, and then we shut down the old one. It is painful because every time you do that, you are aware that if you screw up, if you made a mistake in the new version, if something went wrong, 2,000 applications will stop working and 600,000 characters will not get the data. I can tell you, especially Discord will let us know when that happens. We do have metrics, but we don't need them, I can tell you. It still scares me. I've been doing that now for a few months. It still scares me. But I have to say, in the last few months, we haven't had an incident. I now have to find some boot and knock it off because you'll see next week it will go wrong. We try real hard. It's okay, that's cool. Then we have a lot of data at volume. But like I said, 50% of our requests we do not have in our cache layer. So we have to ask tranquilly that information. One of the main problems there is people always want the freshest of data. They want it instantly and immediately. But can you imagine that there was a big fleet fight? And then the whole of the EVE universe goes in tie-dye because someone is using in ESI what the fleet was doing. Nobody will enjoy that. We will have some very tough explaining to do. So we are very guarding to make sure that what we do, that what third-party developers do, what the applications do, impacts tranquility as little as possible. We can't rule it out. We have many incidents of someone doing something that had an impact on that the market was slower or that one of the systems was slower. It happens, but we try to prevent that. So how does that look? Well, I have this nice image here on the right. The left side of this image was before ESI was enabled. We had some maintenance, so then we can record these things. And on the right side is when ESI was enabled. Two things important to note. You see it going down just before ESI is enabled. This is because the database goes in a complete panic because a lot of data is being asked that it didn't have in memory. So the whole of the game slows down for a moment just because ESI was enabled. Then it spikes up because when ESI is disabled, no application is like, I will ask in 5 minutes. No, they are, I will ask in 0.1 seconds again, and again, and again, and again. So we have to go through all the data. And then finally, when it settles down, you see that if you look at the numbers, it's about 50% more traffic towards, in this case, our database, because ESI is active. ESI is not a small part of EVE Online. It is huge, and it's a pain in the ass. Oh, I had arrows, I forgot. So what do we do to make sure that the lights stay on, that ESI keeps working, that Tranquility keeps working? Well, we have a lot of alarms on a lot of different levels. We have alarms on the ESI side when things go wrong, but we also have alarms on the Tranquility side when the nodes get too swamped with information, and on the database level. And if one of those alarms triggers, we start to investigate what's going on. And 9 out of 10 times, 99 out of 100 times, it is one application misbehaving. And we don't like that. But often, it's an innocent mistake. So up to 2-3 months ago, what did we used to do? Well, we investigate, we find the person that's at fault. We have to IP ban them. We have to say, you're no longer welcome in ESI. Please go somewhere else and contact support as quickly as you can. So then they send an email to us. We check, oh yeah, this was this person. What was he doing? And then we go back and forth in email, figure out what's going on, and then we solve the problem. It takes weeks. People are very frustrating, and the application is not working while that's happening. So we're kind of a bit done with that. So very recently, we rolled out something called rate limits, which means that while it is happening, we start telling the third-party developers, stop, you're going too fast, something is wrong, please check your application. And this found many bugs in the ecosystem. We had many applications by now that fixed a lot of problems that was been there for many months because it was not visible enough and people were not aware. We like that because we are much more proactive and we don't have to go in these long cycles. This is now hours instead of weeks. We like that. It's nice. So that's one way of that we're doing to keep the lights on. And this is a recent example of our problem, so to say. And I think I have nice arrows here too. So someone was scraping kill mails at 600 requests per second. So 600 requests per second is a lot. We don't like that. The systems cannot handle that. So at just before 8:55, we said, okay, we're going to rate limit this person. So then we get this nice spike that instead of them calming down, they start to ask us much more often, please give this kill mail. So normally when someone tells you, please slow down, then you slow down. In our case, they speed up. Lucky enough, after 10 minutes, oh, that's one tomorrow. After 10 minutes, they got the hint and it stopped. But just check the green bar going from 600 requests per second down to about 50, which is the normal rate that we are processing kill mails. This was one person. And often it's not with ill intent. They just think, it will be fine, and what's the harm, and it can be done this fast. We get it. But Tranquility doesn't get it. It doesn't. So that's what we have to deal with. It's not the only thing that we have to deal with. We also have our famous, this is a bot system that's training AI, and AIs love data. But you hope that they do that at a fair rate. No, they do not. They try this at 2,500 requests per second. Our peak is 1,800. So this is what? A sixth of our traffic to train an AI bot. So months ago, we told them, please stop, and we just outright banned them. Like, okay, they're not going to stop on their own, we ban them. This is the banned traffic of last week. Months later, they still try to knock on our door. We want your data. We tell them, you can't get our data, but we want your data. And it goes back and forth. 2,500 times per second. Please don't do this. So, yeah, that was enough about the statistics for me. Now over to Stroopwafel for some fun facts. You have your own microphone. You want this one? Oh,
I want the clicker, yes. So, some leaderboards. We have a lot of data. We see a lot. We see what all the applications are doing, when they're doing it, how they're doing it, which allows us to see some patterns, some interesting patterns, but also some more fun patterns. For this, I created some leaderboards based on something that you probably would be able to rationalize, but also based on the data that we have. So yeah, let's start with Popular apps. So what do we see as a popular app? A popular app is an application that has a lot of characters that it's requesting data for. Things like corp management tools generally have a lot of characters, so they're popular within their corporation. We can see that in the results as well. You can see tools like Alliance Auth have a lot of characters. A lot. You can also see that some alliances, one in particular, has a lot of characters. Almost half of all Alliance Auth installations, which is a lot. Probably more than that Alliance has, but... We also have present apps. Those are not apps that are present in your face, but they're present in our face. Basically, they ask a lot of data because they have a lot of stuff they want to show, or they just want a lot of data a lot of the time. And here we see a bit of a different pattern. Here we usually see wormhole tools. Why do we see wormhole tools? Well, wormhole tools want to know where you are. They want to know where you are a lot. They will ask us almost 12 to 15 times a minute per character. They have a lot of characters, we see them a lot. On the other end of the spectrum, we also have least present. You can see the graph over there. That's relative to the previous slide, so let's try to zoom in a bit. On average, the least present is 0.1% of the most present. And that's just for tools with over 1,000 characters. All the small single-person tools we exclude from that because that's not really relevant to this discussion. Here you can see a lot of alliance tools for things like authentication, but also for indexing who is in the alliance and stuff like that. They don't need to talk to us often. They talk with us maybe a few times a week just to double check, are you still in the alliance? If so, then you still have access to the Discord, to TeamSpeak, etc., etc. We also have a little snowflake. There's one particular set of tools that likes to ask us how many characters are currently online in EVE Online. They do that a lot. A lot. At 14:30 on this slide, we enabled rate limits for this particular route. And we can see a fun little pattern that instead of stopping, because we told them to stop, they instead started to ask us more and more and more and more. But this is fine. This is what the system is made for. This is what the system can handle. So we just let the developer know, and they have since fixed it. One other also interesting point on the previous slide is not this one. Where is it? No. Come on. This one. EPI, for example. PI tools, as you know, don't need to do a lot. So we were a bit confused. Why is this in the top 7? So we checked. We found a bug with their system. Instead of asking the information for a planet once, they asked it a few dozen times a minute, which is a lot, especially since the data doesn't refresh more than a minute. So we reached out. This is something we like to do. We like to engage with our community. We told them, hey, we can see this. Can you confirm this? And they did. They came back to us. They're like, hey, this is something that's going wrong. I fixed it. And now we're seeing an improvement, because before that they were higher up, and now they're slowly going down the line. And in a few days, they'll probably be all the way at the bottom. So we do this. 1 second. Because we have a vision. And that vision is that we want to expose a lot more data. EVE is a large place. EVE has a lot of data. And we want to bring as much of that data to everybody. There is the old meme about everything is connected. In EVE, everything is connected. There's also our position as developers. We don't tell you how to play the game. We just give you the tools to play the game. And you figure out how you want to play your game. So we built the sandbox. you get to play in it, and everybody's happy. On the direct roadmap, we have freelance jobs. We released that earlier in the year. We want to add support for that in EASY. Once we're done with that, we are going to look into more sovereignty updates because EASY has missed on a few updates. So we want to add that because alliances want to use that information to grow and to do more stuff. But after that, we also want to help people become developers because ESI is a really great tool for people to get into development. So we need to work on our documentation, our tutorials, etc., etc. Aside from that, this whole AI thing, as Pinky mentioned, kind of a hot thing. We can keep banning them, but we also need to learn how to work with them. We need to make ESI a more friendly place for AIs to deal with it, so that AIs can be nice to us and we can be nice to them. So how do people get into development? Well, there's two main places. We have the developers.eveonline.com site, where you can find a lot of documentation, a lot of information. We will regularly blog there when we change things, so you can keep up to date with everything that we're doing. There's also the Discord server, the official EVE Online Discord server. In there we have a dedicated channel just for third-party development. And I highly recommend hanging out in there because there's a lot of people in there and a lot of knowledge. And most people are very happy to share that knowledge. For people who are a bit more established as developers, there's also the EVE Partner Program. Third-party applications, like our friends from EVE Workbench, for example, are also in the partner program. There are a lot of perks of being that. We can better communicate with you. You can build more tools. Everybody is happy. So, any questions?
So thanks for the presentation. I'm a very avid user of the Excel plugin. And one of the issues I run into is that I need specific things from inventory, which is probably one of the heaviest ESI calls you can make, from my experience at least, because it takes Excel's like frozen for 2 minutes and then I get part of what I have. Are there options or possibilities to add filters so you can just very specifically query for specific kind of things? That might help you guys also make the queries a bit well, easier to digest for ESI.
The thing works. Yeah. I think you both described the problem and gave the solution in one, which I really appreciate, so thanks for that. The assets have a particular problem that they give back all your assets at once, which is really the question you're asking. I can't imagine a world where I want to know, give me all my assets, the whole of New Eden, or do you want to know what's in this container or what's in that place, or I want to know where my tango is hanging out. So currently you can't, and it's on our list to really address that problem. Because, well, as you mentioned, Excel doesn't really fancy it. A lot of tools don't fancy getting megabytes of data and have to pass through it. So yes, we're aware of it. No, we can't fix it right now. Yes, it will come. Soon.
Thank you. Suity.
Okay. Thank you. One of the things that's very hard to manage in game is ACLs. So it would be amazing to so well read and write, be able to do that through the ESI to make management of ACLs a lot easier to do. Is that something that's also on the roadmap?
So ACLs are a bit special. The concept of an ACL is very easy. Like, you have a list of people that you allow to do certain things and everybody else basically gets shown the door. For ESI, that is a bit difficult to deal with because compared to in-game, where you are one character currently logged in, and you can quickly see if you are on an ACL or not. For ESI, we get requests for, as you can see, thousands and thousands of characters every second. So this is a different problem that we have to solve for. It is something that we want to do, but there are some technical challenges that we have to deal with first. And in part, that also comes with having to create or modify ACLs. The same technical challenges are less so there, but they are still there. The system is really made for one character knowing what they can access instead of a million characters wanting to know if they can access a gazillion things. So there is some stuff that we have to do. So for now, we're not really dealing with that problem because there are some other problems that we want to solve first. But yes, we want to deal with it, just not soon TM, but more like later TM.
And if I can add to that, what you see a lot in EVE is that the game designers are very creative and coming up with very cool concepts, and then the people implementing that are very good at making that happen. But it often is made at the scale of an EVE client being logged in and doing stuff. And with ESI, we have the unique challenge that we have to scale that up. And often that means that we have to become a lot more creative in how to actually do that, which also means it takes a lot more time than we would like.
But you had it for the fleet management, you already have something based on the characters in the fleet task.
Yeah, so there you see the first attempts in that way of dealing that. So yeah, then the next one will be tackling ASL. We will get there. Soon, yes. Okay, we have a question from chat. I have a question for Stroop. Where are his cat ears? I think that's a fair question.
Right here. Right here.
We've been carrying cat ears all this EVE Amsterdam, no worries about it. Any other questions? Where's the microphone?
This one.
Yeah, I have a question about the problems you have and challenges with this huge RPS, the load that you deal with. My question was that it often, in what I saw in this presentation, people just keep polling you for data. Have you considered maybe to broaden your API and introduce like webhook system or something like this to help out with this so people don't need to poll anymore?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of my pet peeves. If you have a system where you ask every time, what's the location of my character? Well, it's in Yita. And you ask 5 seconds again, what's the location of my character? Yes, still in Yita. And you do that for days at end. At a certain point, I would get tired of it. But that's what the current API does. You constantly have to ask the question, you get the same answer back. It isn't always ideal to do that. So we're looking in ways to solve that. And the thing we are thinking about is a WebSocket that we push to you when something changes instead of you asking us. But there are quite some technical challenges to get there. And that has to do that Tranquility isn't built to tell people things. It's much more built to things to happen. So we're slowly getting there. There are a lot of progress there, just not yet. Again, not yet. We say that a lot, I'm sorry. But yeah, you're absolutely right. We have to find a way to push data to you. That would help a lot.
And maybe another question I had is that it seems like, folks, you work on like interesting and cool technical challenges. And have you had an idea maybe to publish your, not just feature roadmap, but also technical roadmap, like what you plan to improve on your platform infrastructure on API level?
Yes and no. So when we're dealing with these challenges, we have a lot of brainstorm sessions. There's a lot of stuff. We really talk a lot, which is a problem in of its own sometimes. And at some point, you just have to make a decision and go for it. Not making a choice is worse than making a wrong choice in some cases. And with ESI, that's very much so. So what we tend to do is we create a plan that looks like the right way forward, and then we implement it, and then we talk about it, and then we gather feedback, and then we iterate. And that's kind of how we want a lot of our development to be. Like, we create something, we show it to you guys tell us if it's good or not. Usually it's good, sometimes it's not. And if it's not, then we have to deal with it. One of the things that we've been doing is doing early access runs with the EVE partners. Previously for core projects, they had early access for a week. They gave us really valuable feedback. We were able to iterate a lot on it in that 1 week alone. With freelance jobs around the corner, we will probably do the same thing, simply because we can add a lot of polish, make sure that once it goes out and once it's stable, it's actually good. But yes, we do want to talk about it. We like talking about what we're doing. You can see that in the blog post that we have on the developer site. We definitely want to continue doing that. And if you have questions, you can always come to us on the EVE Discord, for example, or the partner Discord if you're a partner, and just challenge us. Like, hey, I see you've done this. Why haven't you chosen for that? We really like some of the technical discussions that people drag us into. Yep.
Thank you.
So there's another one from chat, another one from Kadari Prime Pony Club. Is there any chance that player skin data will be available on ESI, i.e. the projections and materials? Chance? Yes. There's always a chance. But that's the easy answer. When, I don't know. I am personally a skin collector, so I wouldn't mind having that information for myself. But yeah, we do have a roadmap internally. We mentioned a bit of it, but we try to keep a short roadmap because things change a lot and we want to iterate a lot. So yes, but not soon. It's not on our current roadmap. We do want the information because we want to enable tools like what Mr. Koldari Prime Pony Club has been doing with the 3D viewer. We like seeing those tools, and if we can enable them further, then we really like to see where we can take this.
And I think skins specifically have this weird thing that I'm also imagining that you can have a third-party website that show how your skin looks and stuff like that. So personally, not as CCP, but just as a third-party developer myself, I want that data. So yeah, that often helps. I can be bribed, he can be bribed, I'm just saying. Another question from chat. I'm not going to pronounce that name, I'm sorry. What happened with all the Metsoft endpoints, like how much ice is in the Shuzan? Shuzan? Shizun? Shuzan? Do you know?
No idea.
We're both looking like we have no idea. Ask us on Discord and we can figure it out for you. That's one thing you have to know about Stroop and me. You can ask us any question, literally any question. We will always answer it. Just not always in the way you might want. We are transparent when we can't answer it or we don't know. I mean, it's a big game with a lot of things going on. We also don't know everything, and we will tell you. So feel free to ask us anything else on Discord. We will just let you know when we don't know.
One thing I do want to add, things like sovereignty endpoints, they are on the roadmap to be looked at. It is something that we want to do. As some of the developers might know, ESI has had a few years of very little progress where EVE Online has made a lot of progress. So that is definitely on our list of catching up because we don't like it to be in a state where there's like a giant gap of a few years where there's stuff in EVE but not in ESI. We want to bridge that gap. We want to give that information. But yeah, it will be a matter of when and how fast and how much effort it will be. So I'm not sure when, but we want to get it done. Any more takers?
In that discussion with sovereignty, is there also maybe the thought about giving less information about sovereignty, except for special timers, etc., and force people to do some more recon work that they have now to do with citadels and not show the whole world that there are soft timers?
There's a lot of stuff there. One of the things that we have in ESI is that we want to be able to show in ESI what is happening in New Eden. The only difference between what you see in game and what you can see in ESI is that the factor of location is generally removed. Take markets, for example. You can see the market on Jita without having to be in Jita, because in ESI you are not logged in as a character, you are an application. So that will be a discussion that we will have to have probably with our good friends from game design on asking, like, what is reasonable, what is feasible? Do we want to show all this information while people are not there? Is it fair in a game sense that people can see such details when they're not there? Do we want people to be in game to find it out, to drive conflict? Or do we want people to be able to see it from outside to drive conflict that way? So there is no clear answer yet, but it is part of a larger discussion that we're having on visibility of information. You can extend this even further, the vulnerability timers. In game, you can see vulnerable skyhooks. So in ESI, it makes sense that we can show it as well. Or does it? That's the question, and those are the questions that we're having, and we're exploring in how we want to deal with that. And as we're going on that, we'll probably explain a bit more in terms of devlogs and other stuff on what decisions that we've made. But it's also worth noting that those decisions aren't always final. Sometimes you just have to make a choice and then see what happens. And if it happens to be the wrong choice, then we have to make a change. I just don't think that we will be making wrong choices that often. There's also a question on... Oh.
So from chat, the question is logic on kill mills. And I love that question because we hear it literally every single time we go somewhere. And let's be clear, we want that. But just for shit and giggles, let me explain a bit to you about kill mills and how that works in the game. So when a kill happens, Tranquility is going to figure out who was on the kill mill, who shot who did what, and stores that in a database. And then you have to think an old-style relational database with a fixed field for how many characters can be stored for the kill mill. So when we exceed that length, the kill mill will not be recorded, and some people have to sweat really hard to manually get that information out of there. So if we would currently put logi on kill mill, the result will be that you'll see far less kills, which is not a balance we would like to strike. In other words, we have to revise this whole system, and as you can imagine, that's not done overnight. We are working on it, but trust me, next FanFest, the answer will not be we have logi on kill mills. That will not happen in that time frame. So yes, please. I wish I had all the time in the world. So, next question. With so many ships now, can we increase the fit limit for 500 to 1,000? Please poke me on Discord and we can look into that. These kind of requests in general, there are a lot of limits in the system to protect tranquility, but often they are based on information from 10 years ago, 50 years ago. Don't get me started about bookmarks. But if there's a limit in the system, poke us if that's in ESI. If it's in the game itself, then you will have to poke game design, because then it's out of my bucket. But if ESI is limiting, please poke us. So bookmarks is a very funny one. I'm going to answer that. Well, it was not a question. Bookmarks requires ACLs. ACLs is a pain to fix. It was not removed because we don't like bookmarks. It was removed because we made it more powerful with ACLs. So yeah, any more questions? I can't see if anyone has a question. You have to yell. There's a light blinding us. So in that case, I think we'll wrap it up. I thank you very much for your attention. If you have any questions, find us afterwards, find us on Discord. Please let yourself know and have fun today.